At Cynthia Rogers, MD Dermatology, we specialize in providing comprehensive expert care for the full spectrum of skin conditions, from complex skin diseases and skin cancer to aging concerns and aesthetic needs. With decades of combined experience in medical, surgical, and aesthetic dermatology, our team brings both deep clinical knowledge and a patient-first approach to every visit. Our practice focuses on developing personalized treatment plans tailored to each individual's skin, health, and life stage. We're located in Port St. Lucie, Florida, in the PSL Professional Center. Learn more or schedule a visit at floridaskindoctor.com.
We've been around since 1946, originated as a scrapyard and evolved into a full-on steel service center, buying and selling new steel products of light fabrication, such as cutting, shearing, bending, threading. We also run a wholesale pipe, valve, and fitting plumbing division, as well as a retail showroom outlet. And then we also are a full-on structural steel fabricator, which is the skeletal steel that you see in commercial and residential structures. We sell to a wide variety of contractors, plumbers, maintenance type personnel, underground utility companies. We sell anything from single nuts and bolts to like a typical hardware store type of feel, one fitting, to full semi-loads of pipes. We're a little deeper in our inventory, and we actually have maybe a little more specialized type of fittings and such. Stock quite a diverse inventory, so we try to keep everything here to keep you guys going.
Backed by 70 years of experience, Duncan Water Systems specializes in commercial and residential water system testing, design, installation, and maintenance. Our mission at Duncan Water Systems is to provide high-quality water solutions to every customer. We pride ourselves on being responsive, honest, and customer-oriented. Our priority is safer water for you and your family. Contact us via call, text, email, or visit us at duncanwatersystems.com.
Welcome to tonight's coverage of the BTDY Racing League Chase for the BTDY Cup. There's no place like home here at the Kansas Speedway for race 1.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Below the Double Yellow FloridaSkinDoctor.com Racing Series. We are here live tonight at Talladega Super Speedway for race number 6 of the 8-race chase for the championship here in the Duncan Water Systems 200. These drivers have already taken the qualifying laps. We have got the grid set here for 80 laps tonight at Talladega. We're going to be bringing you all the action live here on VSPEED. My name's Daniel Cunningham. Alongside me up here in the booth is Adam Baker doing production and co-commentating. We've got those Dougie Beard cams here for you this evening. Adam, thanks for jumping in here. Appreciate you picking up the production and picking up the co-commentating this evening. But these drivers have already put their qualifying laps in. So what do you say we go ahead and jump straight to the grid let everybody know where their favorite driver is going to be starting here this evening.
All right, we will head trackside then and take a look at tonight's starting lineup. Rolling off from the front row tonight, it is going to be Bailey Turner, the number 24 machine, your new points leader after last week's event at Michigan. He comes in here just 6 points above Brody Hayes, who is going to be starting a little bit further back, but Chris Samard going to join him on the front row there in that number 77 machine, looking to get his first victory of the season. See what he's able to do here tonight at Talladega. Rolling off from third, it's going to be Michael Robinson. Starting in the fourth spot, Keith Mayato, who's been up towards the front all season long, trying to make his way back towards the top of the standings after missing a race. Brody Hayes, couple of bad runs here lately, just involved in things and pit road issues at Iowa 2 weeks ago. He's lost the points lead, going to try and gain it back, rolls off fifth. Dennis Faircloth going to start from the 6th position. He currently holds on to the 13th points position, the best of the rest, they call it here. Ryan Gemmel going to start from the 7th position. Jake Mockey going to roll off from 8th here tonight. 9th is Rob Liedel, and Cody Adkins going to round out the top 10 on your grid.
Starting just outside the top 10, going to have Ray Massey in 11th with Jeremiah Hobbs rolling off in 12th. Starting in the 13th position is going to be Paul Hahn. Christian Blackwell starting in 14th this evening. Starting in 15th, Angelo Ronis with Adrian Loya to his outside in 16th. In number 17 starting position is going to be Eric Hutton, Michael Jones in that 2 car in 18th. Rounding out your top 20 is going to be Dallas Sullivan and James Loveland, 2 drivers that opted to not take a qualifying time. Joining them is going to be Alan Dice and Zach Smith in 21st and 22nd. And in 23rd is going to be Todd Giles Jr. rounding out the field here. And, you know, one nice thing about this track, Adam, it takes a little bit to get around here under pace speed. So while we've got a moment, kind of mention those point standings. If we could, let's go ahead and take a quick look at this. Last week's race in Michigan was kind of a wild card, really shook up the point standings. A lot of our contenders ran into some issues. You mentioned it. Bailey Turner now with a 6-point lead over Brody Hayes. Chris Samard and Eric Hutton, really the 2 drivers that have a realistic shot of still making something happen here. A few other guys like Michael Robinson, Keith Mayato, they're still mathematically in it, but would need quite a bit of help to be able to get up there and really mount a challenge. As you can see there, Dennis Faircloth in that 13th position, the best of the rest, gunning for that free entry into the next season. He's got a 40-point lead over Cody Atkins, Max Cost, 43 points over James Loveland. So still plenty to race for quite a few of these drivers here.
Yeah, and Eric Hutton picked up his first victory there at Michigan, and good to see him back in victory lane. A well-deserved run up at the front of the field and got that victory. And we'll see if he can do it again here tonight. Other drivers looking for that first victory of the season, maybe first of their career here in BTDY. And Talladega, as good a place as any to pick up that win, as the pace truck is going to pull off onto the pit lane. And that last extra bit of the racetrack that you get here at Talladega versus Daytona. We're going to be in here with Bailey Turner and Chris Samard ready to lead us off.
Bailey Turner starting in that number 1 position, your championship leader here at what would be the 2nd wild card race in a row, along with Michigan last week. Green flag in the air as the field heads down into turns 1 and 2 for the first time this evening. Bailey Turner trying to get that early bonus point for leading the lap here.
And every point's going to be very crucial from this moment onwards here. Just 3 races left in this regular season. He's going to take a good jump out in front with a big push from Michael Robinson, as we're already got
they're wrecking already.
And it looks like maybe hung on to it. That was Brody Hayes, who almost had another incident here, and right there with his 2 teammates, Mayato and Samard, 3 wide, battling for that 3rd position. Cars all spread out behind. I'm not sure if there was another accident or moment further back. Either way, the top 2 have broken out in front, and Bailey Turner looks like he is going to lead lap number 1.
Yeah, that was a really nice job of those drivers to hang on to that. I thought for sure that was going to spell disaster for somebody here early on. And even though that was a pretty significant hit to the side of that 37 of Brody Hayes, it does not look, at least visually, it doesn't look like he has any damage. Let's take a look on the replay here. See Chris Samard up in that high line. He's got Keith Mayato behind, and I think it was
Oh,
just
wow.
a push gone wrong. But you were right. There was kind of a secondary incident a little further back involving the 22 of Angelo Ronis. I think he was just a victim of all the checkup there, along with the 25 of Paul Hahn. So, that's the bad thing, especially there on that initial start. You got everybody bunched up together. And, if there's a checkup in front of you, you're lacking for places to go at that point.
That is for sure. Things happen very quickly here at Talladega, and out in front, these guys have lost their gap to the 77, the 36, 37. All those guys have caught right back up. One to watch for here at these super speedways, always up towards the front, is Dennis Faircloth, that bright blue and day-glow yellow machine there, always up towards the front in these ones. Ryan Gemmel also has a couple of victories in this league at super speedways, so keep an eye on the 6. We know he's got experience in these ARCA cars in real life, but has a lot of sim racing experience at these super speedways.
Yeah, and one thing I'm going to be interested to see here early on is we do have a competition caution as we're going 3 wide for the lead. Be a competition caution on lap 15 if we don't get one before then. Bailey Turner, though, he is put in the middle of 3 wide, sliding back a little bit here. Championship rival Brody Hayes able to get that bonus point for leading a lap. But what I was getting ready to touch on with that comp caution is I'm curious to see if any of these guys just kind of lay back, maybe just let this first 15 laps play out a little bit. But so far, they've been pretty racy just 4 laps in. And, we don't award points for that comp caution. It's not like a stage, but still, these guys want to get up there and see what they can do early on here. As you can see, Turner was putting the bump draft there on the 13 to Jake Maki. Just try to get everything he can just to see how well it's going to work here early on.
Yeah, Maki was the one who kind of hung him out to dry, and now maybe Bailey not too happy about that, but going to show that he will still work with him for the moment, try and build some loyalty there. That's a big thing here at these super speedways. Obviously, the teammates going to be a factor. You can see up towards the front, Brody Hayes has gotten to the point. His teammates of Mayato and Gemmel there behind him, separated just by Michael Robinson, but Bailey Turner does have some teammates in the field. Eric Hutton is back there. You've got Angelo Ronis. Those guys are going to try and help the 24 machine if they can get up towards the front, but currently those guys are hanging quite a ways back. Hutton is about 2 seconds off your race lead, and Zach Smith, Dallas Sullivan, Angelo Ronis, Todd Giles Jr. all in this group, and then Paul Hahn, Jeremiah Hobbs, and James Loveland have lost the draft entirely.
Yeah, they are pretty substantially back of the rest of the field here. The only good news is they do have that comp caution, so hopefully they don't end up, losing a lap here. Be kind of close with the speeds that they're running, but I think they should be all right for the most part here, as this lead pack, single file for the first few cars there, for the first 3 cars in line, but after that it's 2 by 2 the rest of the way. Those VSPEED cars first and third in that bottom line up there at the front.
Little different look here for Ray Massey. Used to seeing the printing colors on there, the Clark Print Shop, black and yellow, but tonight it's the Cruise for a Cause. So changing it up here for breast cancer awareness, and he's right up here inside the top 10, behind the number 80 machine of Rob Liedl. And you can see hitting about 187 miles an hour as they go into the tri-oval. Not quite the 200 miles an hour we were seeing last week at Michigan. That was a lot of fun to be in the car, and going that fast. Not used to that. Haven't really seen that since the Gen 6 era of the Cup cars.
Well, and I gotta ask, because we kind of touched on it on the broadcast last week. It's like we have 2 back-to-back wild card races between Michigan last week and then this week. Here's big move out of Turner, going to the bottom. Oh, boy, he was doing a heck of a job to hang on to that car there as he gets back to the lead. But man, what a big move there for Bailey. Maki fighting back on the outside. But I gotta ask, Adam, was it as crazy as you thought it would be? Like, were you expecting that last week at Michigan, or did that kind of take you by surprise?
It definitely surprised me. I knew it would be more packed up than you might see from some other cars, but yeah, I didn't get a lot of practice in before that race, so kind of got in, and my first experience around other people was in the race. So yeah, it was very intense, and it's often like that here in BTDY in general. You've just got so many drivers that are so competitive and consistent as well. As up here at the front, Brody Hayes is taking control of the top side. Speaking of competitive and consistent, the top two, your two highest in points coming into tonight's race, they're trying to control this race from the get-go.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. We talk about this race possibly being a wild card. The draft is always the great equalizer in oval racing. But yet, up there in first and second are your top two guys leading the points, your two main championship rivals at this point. As Brody Hayes gives a little bit of a shove to Bailey Turner there, looking to the inside. He says, I want to try to take this lead back. He's got a little bit of help there from Michael Robinson.
Yeah, it looks like Ryan Gemmell might be jumping out of line to try and stay away from the chaos that could ensue here. We're getting closer to that comp caution. We didn't show the race analysis before we got started here, but quick look at that. 15 laps, that comp caution, and then fuel range 23 to 27 laps. So it's going to be interesting with the strategy. I think they're going to have to make at least 2 stops unless we get a caution just kind of awkwardly timed. But yeah, it's going to be very, very close for many of these drivers potentially if they try and pull a little strategy game there. And then we'll probably have to get to a green-white checkered attempt if things get intense like they always do here at the super speedways, but hopefully we don't have to use all 3 of them.
Yeah, one thing about it, we have been no strangers to green-white checker finishes this season here in BTDY. And the other big thing that we want to emphasize here also, no fast repairs for these drivers. So, that's why you see things like Ryan Gemmell jumping out of line and kind of getting to the back of this main pack, because if you get caught up in something, that's pretty much it. I mean, these cars are very aero sensitive. If you get some front end damage, that could be a night ender for you. As you can see, Bailey Turner shuffled back to the middle yet again with Jake Maki and Dennis Faircloth up on that high side. But out in front of them, Brody Hayes trying to take control of this race yet again. He is back to the point.
Yeah, Brody's got control by a good couple of car lengths to the next driver in the top side, and that is Jake Maki. He is not content to run behind the 24. He wants to get out in front and lead, and then Bailey's trying to just leapfrog him as well. We saw the 80 machine get kind of hung out to dry there. He's fallen all the way back to 12th already, but would not expect anything else other than the 80 trying to get up there and make something happen once again. But just a few more laps to that comp caution. It's been a lot of the same characters up front. Nobody really too far back has cycled up here. Your biggest mover in this one is Alan Dice, up 11 positions to the top 10 now.
Yeah, and it really seems like there's a couple different agendas here. You have a few guys that are willing to just kind of ride at the back, see how this first 15 lap run plays out. You've got some other guys that want to get up there and try to mix it up a little bit. Alan Dice, as you mentioned, has been one that has not been afraid to move up through the field, trying to gain some track position here early on. As you can see there, the field going around the 0-2 of James Loveland will indeed put him a lap down before this comp caution. Possibly in position, though, to get that free pass, depending on if we catch one of these other drivers that did fall off of the draft there early on. But yeah, I mean, you can see this second pack here led by Ryan Gemmell just kind of hanging around just close enough to where you don't have to worry about losing the draft. You can kind of see how the other cars in front of you are driving, kind of see how they're handling without being up there and being right in the middle of the hornet's nest. So personally, I usually tend to be kind of conservative at these super speedway races, try to ride it out for a little bit. So I kind of like the strategy that those guys are doing here, just riding and clicking off some laps right now.
Yeah, I tell you what, Daniel, I've had no luck with either strategy in league racing. Seth Hatchell and I used to do quite a few of these official races. I know Ryan and Seth used to run a lot of them too. We'd have so much more luck in official races, which is not what you'd expect to hear. But then any league race, it was just like, you might be in contention to win, but it's always taken out on that last lap. Or some of these guys just have incredible luck and just know how to get around the accidents at the end of the race. And things just fall right in their lap. But you got to be in position at the end of the race. So often the conservative approach up front is what's going to get you there, but sometimes it's hard to make up the ground when you need to at the end of the race. But just one more time around until we get that comp caution. Bailey Turner in front, as he often is headed towards the comp cautions.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, for what it's worth, I never said that it was a good strategy or that it worked out for me, just that was usually my strategy. But, I'm like you. I get caught up in the wrecks no matter where I'm at. So, but, yeah, you're right. Bailey Turner has made it a habit of being up here at the front of these fields throughout the race and always seems to find his way up near the front at these comp cautions. Is the field actually going to put Jeremiah Hobbs a lap down here as well, another one of our chase drivers? And you mentioned it, we should be seeing that comp caution shortly after the leader takes the line here. It looks like Jake Maki maybe gets to the line first. It may have been Bailey Turner at the time of caution. Really hard to tell, really close between the two of them. Cody Atkins and Alan Dice up there as well, but the caution is out, and that is going to be our lap 15 competition caution.
And that's unfortunate for James Loveland, too, who went a lap down early on and not going to get the lucky dog, so that'll go to Jeremiah Hobbs. So you'd expect the O2 to probably take a wave around. But those two drivers falling off the lead lap on that first run. So unfortunate for both of them. That'll definitely throw a wrench in their strategies. But you can see Loveland has a lot of rear end damage. That must have been from the check up on the backstretch, as it looks like Bailey Turner is the one, at least at the time of caution, to have the race lead. So he'll get another feather in his cap there, I guess. I think every race I've been in and watched, he's been the leader at the stage break or the competition caution. So very impressive to be able to do that.
Yeah, for sure. He has definitely found his way to the front of the majority of these races. And just a quick shout out there to the 55 of Cody Atkins, already up to fourth here early on. And, you know, when I first started calling the races in this series this season, we kind of documented Cody was having just, I mean, the absolute worst luck that I think I've ever seen anybody have on iRacing. You know, he was getting caught up in other people's incidents, just seemed like he was always wrong place, wrong time. We showed it there on the points graphic at the beginning of the night. He's worked his way up into a tie for the 14th position. So he's had some better runs here as of late. And, you know, we typically run a little bit modified iRacing setup here as well. For the super speedways, it's just the iRacing fixed setup. But Cody is the one that actually puts the work in, modifying the setup, takes feedback that people give, and does a nice job putting that extra time in, making these cars a little bit racier on the more traditional ovals. So shout out to him for a good run tonight, and also shout out for the work that he's put in throughout this season as well.
Yeah, and good to see that's kind of coming back around to him here with all that bad luck. Finally getting some great finishes. I know I was battling with him at Iowa for a lot of that race, and he's got, you know, really good speed, especially those medium kind of short tracks. You'll often see Cody battling up there inside the top 10. So good to see him up here at Talladega. Hasn't been collected in anything just yet, and hopefully we haven't cursed him. I know commentator curse has been pretty rough for the two of us at times, so let's hope that doesn't come around. But Bailey Turner will lead them down pit road, and they'll come to the attention of their crews, and it looks like no one is electing to stay out, so it will be all these drivers taking fresh tires and fuel. And do want to give a quick shout out to all the sponsors here. You saw the reel at the beginning of the broadcast, but so many great sponsors. Florida Skin Doctor, carrying the banner this season for this league, but so many great ones that you can see in the video description. And go support the guys that help support this league, as it looks like Michael Robinson wins the battle off pit road.
Yeah, it looks like we did have a couple of drivers that did right side tires or possibly fuel only. Michael Robinson, first one off of pit road, just 8 seconds in his pit box. Adrian Loya now up to fifth as well, 8.4 seconds on that pit stop. So definitely not 4 tires the entire way around. And, you know, one thing about it with Talladega, it seems like you can get away with that here more so than you can like at a Daytona, or especially at New Atlanta. where the tires mean a little bit more. So it's usually a little bit more prevalent that we see it under green flag stops. The guys will do, just fuel only or just 2 tires, but a couple of guys opting to try to get some track position here on the caution as well.
Yeah, and we'll see if those guys try to stay up at the front. I mean, a long ways to go from here. Over 60 laps at Talladega is a long time. Really, the majority of the racing traditionally happens that in the last 10 laps. You've got to make it to that point and don't make any mistakes on pit road or anything like that. And we're likely to see green flag pit stops at least once, probably at least twice, I think, in this one, from this point. So, yeah, there's drivers like Bailey Turner and a couple others that are really good at stretching fuel as far as it can possibly go, but I think you're going to need to stop at least twice from this point, based on our estimates.
Yeah, I believe that will be the case, even if we said the max of that range at 27 laps, that would put them at 54, currently sitting at about 63 to go. So that would be a pretty tall ask to be able to stretch the fuel quite that much. Although we did see Bailey Turner prove all of us wrong earlier this season with a fuel strategy game. So can't exactly rule anything out, but it'll be interesting to see once we go back green here, if any of these drivers do elect to kind of stay in the pack, don't try to lead that line, save a little bit of fuel. At the very least, they may be able to make their pit stop a little bit shorter. As you can see early on here, already 7 lead changes after just 15 green flag laps. So really competitive up at the front of the field so far.
And that's what you like to see here at Talladega. It's not just running in line, and these guys are battling, and you can count on that in BTDY. These guys are going to have fun. They're going to race clean, as clean as they possibly can, and you'll get some competitive racing up in front, even at a track like this, where, again, it's not really a place you can break away, and the lead doesn't mean all that much necessarily throughout the race. But these guys getting their practice in, making moves, and finding their drafting partners, and all the while putting on some exciting racing for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this league has definitely put on a lot of great moments, a lot of great racing so far this season. And we saw a 3-wide green-white checker finish last week at Michigan. We saw it earlier this season at Richmond as well on a 3-wide green-white checker. We saw, I think Iowa even was a green-white checker as well. The late race caution kind of mixing things up. So can never quite know what this series is going to throw at you as far as a little bit of a curveball, but these drivers have definitely made our jobs a lot easier throughout the course of this season, just with what they've been putting on the track as we get ready to go back green here.
Pace Truck's going to pull it on to pit road. Field in the hands of Michael Robinson and Bailey Turner, who started right up here towards the front, but the 29, little different pit strategy in the Domino's machine. They'll get into the restart zone and waiting for that green flag to fly, and there it is, off and away goes to 29. Not real synced up on the bottom lane, but we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, Alan Dice was glued to the back bumper of that 24 Bailey Turner as they came through the restart zone and got back to the start-finish line. Alan giving a nice push up there. You mentioned it, top lane was formed up a little bit better, but that bottom lane starting to come together now as well. Got Bailey Turner leading that outside groove. Michael Robinson still leading the inside, as actually Turner is going to drop down to lead the bottom groove now. Alan Dice moving up to the very top groove by himself. I think he said, you know what, that's all right. I don't necessarily need to lead this race right now or try to mix this up. Let me go back here and hang out for a little while and click some laps off.
Yeah, he's going to fall all the way back here to outside the top 10, maybe outside the top 15, as Michael Robinson still leading, but now to his outside, it's the 55 machine of Cody Atkins. Just talked about him before the break, and he is going to lead there at the stripe in the number 55. You see it's Hayes and Maki behind, and then Loya, Liedl, Zamard, Turner, and Ray Massey, Ryan Gemmel rounding out your top 10. And it looks like the top 9 or so are side by side, and Gemmel is kind of the leader now of guys maybe taking a little bit more conservatively, but as I look now, they're all side by side as well.
Yeah, that second group may be hanging back a little bit, not necessarily racing quite as tight as that top group is. but still racing side by side nonetheless. You can see those top 3 cars on that high side all bunched really close together as we take a look here back at the 37 of Brody Hayes. This is on board with Cody Atkins, currently showing as your race leader. Brody Hayes getting up there and giving a nice push to Cody, gonna get him the lap lead this time by. Cody able to clear. He's gonna drop down to the bottom just to try to maintain and ride that yellow line for a little while.
Yeah, and some of these guys, they'll stick up there in the top side for a little bit longer than that, but it looks like maybe it's time to settle in after all that hard racing in the first 15 laps. Had a couple close calls there, right? And these guys knowing that they've got to make it to the end, and this is kind of that mid part of the race that a lot of leagues, a lot of drivers are just going to be content to run where they're at, maybe make a few moves here and there, but overall going to keep things pretty stable. But you do see Maki up on the top with Lidl behind him. Those guys not content to run down in line, or at least they haven't found a spot just yet, but they're working together, and it's 2 against about 10 up here in the front pack.
Yeah, that's a numbers game that you're not going to win here at Talladega. One thing we have seen early on, though, Jake Maki in that 13 has not been afraid to try to mix it up, make some moves, not really content to just ride along here. He wants to try to make something happen, try to keep himself up near the front. He's got his teammate Rob Lidl there behind him. But back a couple of car lengths back, you see Jeremiah Hobbs starting to make a move up, and that's the 15 of Christian Blackwell. He's also trying to give him a shove, so now put that 4 cars in that top groove trying to make some ground here. And, you know, the thing that really surprised me there, Adam, was just how quickly Hobbs and Blackwell were able to catch up to these top 2 cars. I mean, it seemed like they had an extra 40 horsepower going down the back straightaway and through 3 and 4 there. And, I mean, they pulled up pretty quick, and you can kind of see Todd Giles there in the 14, that 5th car in line on the top side, even without a drafting partner directly behind him. He's kind of doing the same right now and pulling up, utilizing that draft.
Yeah, the draft in these ARC cars is insane. As we see a move there, Michael Robinson's going to jump to the top side, and all those drivers, Jake Maki, Lidl, Hobbs, Blackwell, they're all going to drop to the inside. And they had a really nice run going. Even just the 2 of Maki and Lidl were able to pull up to about 3rd place. So really impressive stuff. They've obviously got things coordinated and synced up, knowing when they're pushing and how to push. So, you know, maybe a threat here to control this race, as these 3 now have about 2 car lengths over Cody Atkins.
Yeah, they definitely did a nice job working together up there, getting cleared of the lead. Now see if they can maintain that. And, you know, kind of touched on it, Maki and Lidl are teammates, so not a surprise to see them 2 working together. But Jeremiah Hobbs is not a teammate of theirs, so he was just kind of along for the ride there, just following along with them. But you can see now he says, all right, my turn to try to get the lead. He jumps up to the top side. He's got Loya and Robinson behind him, 31, 30, 29, the top 3 cars in that line. Christian Blackwell also going with them, and bottom lane kind of falling apart a little bit now, just not as formed up as they were earlier, and that's going to put Hobbs to the lead.
29 gets shoved out of line. Loya onto the apron just a little bit there as he tries to get to the bottom lane, trying to get lined up with Hobbs, who's going to kind of run a little bit off the yellow line. And the 15 now going to get shoved up to the top side. That could open the door for Maki to get back involved. He's not quite there just yet, but looks like he'll have the run and the draft to those top 2 who are out in front by about 5 car lengths, which is a long ways to be in front at Talladega. You don't often see that happening here, as the 30 is just pushing relentlessly.
Yeah, he was definitely trying to shove for all he was worth there. And, you know, Adam, one thing about it, I don't have a ton of experience in this new ARCA car on super speedways, but from the last time that I ran them, it seemed like those bump drafts, like that pushing that you can do in the next gen or the Xfinity car and you know, even the Gen 6, it seems like that's a little bit sketchier in these ARCA cars, that they just don't seem to take the pushes quite as well. You've really got to be lined up pretty much perfect with somebody, or you risk turning them, getting them out of shape.
Yeah, these cars really just aren't as planted as some of the other higher downforce machines. I mean, they've got a lot of drag, but it doesn't really equate to downforce, not as high tech right, as a next-gen car or Xfinity or truck even. And so they're a little bit unstable, especially up close to 200 miles an hour. And you could really feel that, especially at Michigan as the run went on. The car just started to get really, really loose, you know, at a track where you're almost wide open the whole time. And it won't be quite the case here at Talladega with all this banking to support you, but definitely don't accept the pushes and, you know, the tire wear as well as some of the other NASCAR machines.
Yeah, that's something I'll be interested to see as the run goes on. We're only 10 laps into this run so far, make that 11 laps now. Once we get down with the lower fuel load and we get a little bit of wear on the tires, I'm curious to see how these machines handle. As you can see, the 15 there at Blackwell giving a huge bump draft to Todd Giles Jr. down the back straightaway. And man, just seeing that with the way that those cars were dancing around a little bit there just makes me a little bit nervous. I mean, it wouldn't take much for one of those pushes to go wrong, and the next thing you know, you've got a driver that's spinning in front of basically in front of the pack at that point was where they were running. But for now, a lot of this field just kind of single filed out. Seems like they're content to just ride here and try to get some laps in, maybe at least until we get to that first green flag pit stop.
Yeah, only two cars being the two machine of Michael Jones. We got to remember he won back at Daytona in a last lap pass that was that really kicked off the season in an exciting way. He got his win there. Ultimately couldn't hasn't been back to victory lane, but could find victory lane again here tonight. But he's going to be left on the outside of Eric Hutton for the moment. But yeah, you saw the 15 kind of snaking there. It can be so hard to sync up the bumpers with some of these drivers if you're not familiar with racing around them, or if they, you know, aren't running where you're expecting or how you're expecting. Not a lot of communication between non-team drivers. So you'll see that happen sometimes where a driver's just trying to find the back bumper and they're just kind of dancing all over, like you said. But gave me a little bit of a nervous moment there as well.
Yeah, and what makes it really hard when, especially if it's not a teammate that you're trying to coordinate with, is, you know, the lead car is trying to move to get in line with the back car, and the back car is trying to get in line to move with the lead car, and the next thing you know, you're both trying to hit a moving target. I know whenever me and my teammates are trying to work together, we usually say, lead car, just stay straight and let the trail car come up to you and line the push-ups. So you know, it definitely takes a lot of coordination, and if you're not in the same chat with someone, it's a lot more difficult to try to make it work here. Let's take a look from the roof cam of Rob Liedl and see if he gets up here and tries to give his teammate a little bit of a shove. They seem kind of content to just keep this gap in between them, about 1/10 of a second or so. And, you know, that's kind of a safe way to run it here early on, just not getting super aggressive. We've got a car upside down the middle of the back straightaway. It's the 31 of Jeremiah Hobbs. Caution is out here on lap number 30. I did not see what initially happened to him, but, you know, unfortunately the 31 doing his best Ryan Newman impression there on his roof.
Yeah, he was running up here.
Instant replay.
Yeah, right up at the front. And Loya behind. They just get a little bit of that snaking going on. Looks like the bumpers catch. Gets turned into Blackwell. Gets flipped over off the nose of Giles and then skates down the backstretch on his roof. Not a fun place to be.
That is less than ideal here at Talladega. And, you know, the irony just isn't lost on me there, seeing that 31 car upside down like Ryan Newman did so many times in his various cars that he was in to ride on board here. Yeah, at that point, when you're in the cockpit in the sim, you're basically just hoping, hey, maybe if I flip back over and land on my wheels, I can drive it back to pit road. Maybe it won't be completely destroyed, but not the case. The 31 of Hobbs going to end up having to tow after that one, and also does show a meatball flag. So that is pretty much going to be a race ender for him after he was up here running near the front for the majority of this race.
I believe we saw a flip at Daytona as well. I'm not sure. It might have been Dennis Faircloth. It was one of the slowest flips that I have ever witnessed in iRacing. It was almost like the Joey Logano style flip. where
yeah.
the car just kind of tipped over somehow. And yeah, so I guess we've seen a flip at both of the super speedway races this season. So that is that's something right there. That's a statistic. And yeah, not a fun way to end your race, but an entertaining one. You know, at least for us watching. But unfortunately for Hobbs, who had that good run going.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing with the timing of this caution, it's going to put these drivers into a window where they can most likely make it on one stop from here. Inside of 50 laps to go, you can see it looks like pretty much everybody here. Saw the two there. Michael Jones was looking like maybe he might not come down, but thinks better of it. Jake Maki going to lead the field on the pit road here. We said 23 to 27 laps on fuel. Put it right in the middle of that window, and that would get you to the end on one stop from here.
Yeah, as Maki brings him down pit road into his box nicely. And I believe Lucky Dog on this one is going to be James Loveland. He's going around right now. Todd Giles Jr., who made the contact with Jeremiah Hobbs to flip him over. He is parked on pit road now for an extended stay, so goes a lap down. Hobbs is going to be out of this race, like you mentioned. And it's Jake Maki winning the battle off pit road. Michael Jones second, Eric Hutton third, Angelo Ronas fourth, and Adrian Loya in that fifth spot.
Yeah, and a lot more drivers opting for that two-tire or fuel-only strategy this time around. Our top 9 drivers off of pit road, the top 5 that you mentioned, along with Rob Liedl, Bailey Turner, Ray Massey, and Dennis Fairclough, all right at or under 8 seconds or so in their box on that pit stop. So a lot more guys just opting to try to get the track position this time around. But personally, I kind of like doing the 4 tires under caution, and in that way you can opt for fuel only or 2 tires under green if it gets to that point. But yeah, Jake Maki so far, he's opted for the track position on both of these cautions. You can see there he's led 8 laps so far this evening, and he seems pretty determined that might just try to park that 13 in victory lane here this evening.
Yeah, and that would be his first career win if he can do that. Driver behind him, Michael Jones, a winner here in week 1 of this season, and Eric Hutton, last week's winner right there behind him. Angelo Ronas, I believe, still looking for his first career victory as well. He's got multiple wins at these super speedways in the exhibition races, usually the Clash before this, before the season, and he's also won a couple of the All-Star races, I believe. He was kind of the exhibition master in the in this series for a long time, but I'm not sure if he has an official win or not. They deleted my stats here in BTDY a long time ago. And
I was just thinking about that. It's a shame that we don't have a stat channel anymore to go back and reference. And if a certain admin goes back and watches this broadcast, I know he's going to rib both of us about that afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not going to name names here, but we know
you're not going to name names, but you may or may not have just flashed their name up on the screen.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Either way. Yeah, no, that was a fun thing we had going for quite a while. This league, it's all about having a good time, and we all these drivers come out here and want to put on a good show, but also have the most fun they can. They put a lot of time and effort into preparing for these races, and yeah, they've done a great job running this league here over the last 5 years, I believe. It started back in 2020, and it's been through all iterations and forms, and still out here. Good participation in a lot of the same names running out here, and some of those guys still looking for their first career wins. Some of them looking to get back to victory lane here and make a charge for the championship tonight as well. And we got the pace truck lights off, so we're going green this time.
Yeah, for sure. It's been really cool to see just how the league has transformed over the years. And Alan Dice is actually the reason why I was over here to start with. Built my first racing PC for me and brought me in over here. So I haven't always been able to race over here, but I've always been kind of hanging out in the Discord, and it's been really cool to see just a lot of mainstay drivers that have been over here for quite a while, some new faces. Couple of new faces up on that front row here as well. with Jake Maki and Michael Jones trying to get in there and get their win here this evening. Race truck getting ready to pull off. Lights are off, and we are going to be back green here momentarily with the field in control of that 13 of Jake Maki.
As they work towards the Geico, or rather the restart zone, not Geico restart zone anymore. It is Maki and Jones, and the green flag is back out. We're off and away once again from Talladega. Good jump for the 13. Michael Jones trying to get that top side synced up, but not quite there just yet. It'll be the 13, the 88 down low, with support from Angelo Ronas as well.
Yeah, and something that I noticed here that I didn't touch on coming to green, Bailey Turner, our championship leader coming into this race, he actually elected to come down pit road, come into the 1 to green, and top off with fuel. So a little bit of a strategy play there out of Turner. See if he can work his way back to the front, or if he just decides to ride a little bit here as they're trying to go 3 wide up at the front. Rob Liedl, Dennis Faircloth there, maybe having a little bit of a disagreement over space, but they're both going to get shuffled up to the top side and put Cody Atkins now with Alan Dice, his teammate, directly behind him. Those two cars 55 and 5 leading that second groove.
And we know that they've worked together a whole lot here over the past few years, and we expect them to try and maintain some track position. Good shot for them to go to victory lane here tonight. And we've seen the admins, Nick Starling's won a few of these super speedway races back in the day, and we've seen them be very competitive at these tracks and others. But definitely good to have your teammates up here with you. As Eric Hutton's teammate, you mentioned Bailey Turner, all the way to the back, but we know how good he is at making his way through the field. Saw it last week at Michigan, had a shot to win, and it came down to a kind of door bang and finish between the teammates in that one.
Yeah, between the teammates and to Keith Mayato in that as well. He was right there gunning for the win as they came to the line there at the end of that one as well. But up here at the front, see Cody Atkins starting to make some ground up on that high groove with the help of his teammate Alan Dice. Got Michael Jones there, that third car in line, that Red Bull number 2. Chris Samard up there behind him as well. And actually our top 2 drivers, Atkins and Dice, they are both able to clear that bottom lane of Maki. They're going to slide down. A little bit of a late move there out of the 5. Almost didn't clear down in time. Maki cuts him a little bit of a break and lets him down, though.
Yeah, and that's going to check up the inside lane just a bit. Here comes Michael Jones with a head of steam, and Samard in the 77 behind, going to give him a big shove through the tri-oval here, and it could be another leader. The 2 out in front, he will lead that lap, so another lead change. As really close side drafting as the 2 comes down, 55 closing back in. He'll get the nose out in front through turns 1 and 2. And the top side, though, pretty well synced up, nose to tail. A little more space down there amongst the 3 drivers leading the bottom lane.
Yeah, you mentioned it. That top groove definitely formed up tighter as of right now. On that bottom lane, it seems like Alan Dice and Cody Atkins will do a pretty good job of working together and staying tucked up. But eventually you got to back off just a little bit if you're that trail car and get a little bit of air to the front of it. Jake Maki there trying to get up behind and push, but there's a pretty good gap there between the 3rd and 4th cars in line between Maki and Eric Hutton on that bottom groove. You can see Dennis Faircloth actually now dropping down. He's going to fill that gap between the 2 of them. So a little bit more help now on the bottom line, but still a pretty big gap, though, between Alan Dice and Jake Maki on the bottom.
It's important to note, too, Chris Samard has made his way up to 3rd in points after last week's race at Michigan. So he is a driver who is not out of it for a championship run, and wow, that would be so impressive. He's been very consistent this season, has been very good in the chase so far, finds himself within striking distance in these last few races. It's between the 77 and the 88. Those guys are kind of really in the realistic reach of a potential shot at the championship. But Samard trying to get as many points as he can. He'll maybe try to get up to lead a lap or 2 here.
Yeah, Eric Hutton, the other one you mentioned there, he gave his championship hopes a much needed shot in the arm last week with that win at Michigan. Going into that race, we kind of touched on it that Samard, Hutton, a few others needed a little bit of help to be able to get back into that championship battle. Both of those drivers got exactly that, with so many of our championship contenders actually running into trouble last week. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of wild to think about. This race has actually been a little bit more tame than Michigan was. I mean, you would have think it would be the other way around, but even with all the side-by-side racing and everything that we've seen so far here this evening, it hasn't gotten quite as crazy yet as what we saw last week.
Yeah, I think the difference really is you expect the cars to race like this here, but at Michigan, that's a very different type of racetrack, right? They were not handling like they were on a super speedway through the corners. I mean, on the straightaways is one thing, but yeah, once you got into turn one, those cars wanted to skate up. You had aero push, you had loose, you had all the different handling conditions that you don't really experience as much at these super speedways. And it made for just a lot of really intense moments when you're side by side. We were 3 or 4 wide multiple times in that race. And yeah, these guys haven't gotten to running that hard just yet in this, but as it gets to the end, you'll see some familiar sights there with 3 and 4 wide.
Oh yeah, absolutely, no doubt in that we will see a lot of we'll say calamity as we get down to the end of it. A lot of guys trying to make some moves, make things happen. But one driver that is making things happen right now, even though they don't have the numbers up on that top side, the 2 of Michael Jones, he is not going away up at the front of this field. See there, started back in 18th, actually, one of our biggest movers of the evening so far. Currently in that number 1 spot, led a couple laps on the evening. And this kind of going in line with something that we saw a little bit earlier too, that it really only takes about 4 or 5 cars in that top groove to be able to match speeds with that bottom lane. So be curious to see as we get down towards the later stages of this race, if anybody's willing to try maybe a 3rd groove up there, you can get that many cars lined up together with just 4 or 5 in a row.
Plenty of room for it here at Talladega to do the 3 wide. 4 wide starts to become tight. Definitely not enough room for 5 wide, but you might see that if people are extremely desperate. But just past the halfway point in this race, and yeah, the cast of characters has changed pretty significantly since the start of this race. Your top 10 or so all bunched up, and then you can see Eric Hutton actually in that 10th position, hanging back just a little bit. Everybody else is single file, spread out all the way back to Brody Hayes, who's at the tail end of this group. So your points, second in points coming into this one, running in 20th, and Bailey Turner in that 16th position. If anything does happen to those two, I was just taking another peek back at the points. Chris Samard is only 23 back, and Eric Hutton is only 24 back. They could be right there in this fight if something happens to the 24 or the 37 here. That's how close they are.
Yeah, and even just looking as we currently run with the top 10, I only see 3 of our championship drivers in the top 10. That's Maki, Samard, and Hutton. Everybody else up there, a non-championship driver. So, of course, still a long way to go, as you mentioned, just past halfway. But as it currently stands, I mean, even just as they run, we could be in for another big shakeup in the points here this evening.
Yeah, and Bristol is coming up next week, which is, it's not quite a wild card, but it is definitely, a different type of racetrack and can lead to some calamity and chaos and shakeups as well. So kind of back to back to back with the difficult and kind of crazy racetrack. So an interesting choice there in the schedule. It definitely is making for a championship fight that is worth tuning in for. And I'm excited to see how it all shakes out at the Coliseum. And then we go to Homestead for the finale, which is going to be a lot of fun. These guys love that racetrack. And good to see that as the season finale, where it should be.
Yeah, you'll get no argument from me on that one, especially with them doing the work on the custom setups. I think it's really going to allow that track to race multi-groove as you see in real life with it. But yeah, that's one of the things that I love about the schedule that they put together here in this series is just the variety of tracks. I mean, you see a lot of leagues that when you get down into your chase or your playoff, whatever format they have, it seems like it kind of gets loaded up with like the intermediate tracks. You don't want anything too wild or anything like that. But over here, they're like, no, we're just going to throw it out there and let y'all have at it. And I love that. It makes things a lot more exciting. It keeps people on their toes throughout the course of the championship run. So definitely hats off for the schedule that they built over here this season.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and we've seen amazing finishes all throughout. Something I wanted to point out while we were kind of chatting there, Eric Hutton has fallen back. This whole second group is 2 seconds off the race lead. They've definitely got a nice safe distance in case anything happens amongst the top 9, but got to be careful not to fall too far back because it can be tough to make up ground like that sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And the one thing too that you have to be leery of, and again, I don't have the ton of experience with these ARCA cars compared to some of the other ones, but it also seems like there's such a thing as trying to get too many cars organized to try to get back up there. And right now it's 9 cars at the front of the field. You can see there, pretty substantial line of cars. I mean, the math would say you should be able to catch up pretty quick. You should be able to get lined up. You've got numbers, but it just seems like if you can't get everybody on the same page of staying tucked up, staying tight to one another, if there's too big of a gap that's being left somewhere in the line, it just kind of bogs everyone down. So definitely something to be aware of. And then even when it comes to pit stop time, it seems like there's a magic number that you want to hit if you have to come down under green. I mean, you definitely have to come down with some friends. You got to have that draft help. But if you come down with too many drivers, you're trying to get organized off a pit road, onto pit road, it seems like you give up more time than you gain with having the extra draft. As we see here, a little 3 wide for the lead. Rob Liedl with Dennis Faircloth, they're going to hang the 2 out to dry. They're going to try to take it for themselves, but just a bunch of different wrinkles at play here as we get down to our set of green flag pit stops, which could be happening in the next 10 laps or so.
Yeah, they run 16 for some of these drivers, 15 for others who topped up a little bit on fuel. And so that is probably, yeah, like you said, 8 to 12 laps is the end of the window. So they'll be coming in around 55 to 59, and that should get them to the end of this race. If you're pitting towards the 55 lap, though, that may be starting to stretch it to the end. So some of these guys who have run up front and burned more fuel, they might be putting themselves in a tight situation. We see Adkins has kind of dropped behind, maybe trying to save a little bit there as he drafts off the 13 and the 80, the 080. And yeah, we'll see how these guys approach this next bit of the race. The second pack still a little ways back, although some of them have caught up. Looks like Mayato, Smith, Massey, Ronas, Hutton have all gotten into the lead group, and then it's Gemmel about a half second back, but he's actually right there on the tail of Mayato now. So they were able to make up all that time as the front was really battling each other.
Yeah, just as we said, it can be difficult to make up that 2-second gap. They pull it all back in about a lap or so. Yeah. So great job by the drivers to make it look like I don't have the slightest idea what I'm talking about up here. And apparently I didn't in that aspect, because they made it look easy just pulling that gap back quickly like that. But I mean, you've touched on it a couple times here this evening, though, just how big the draft was. And that was last week in Michigan, with still having the full horsepower on these cars, running here this week, or, at Talladega with a restrictor plate on the car with a little bit less horsepower, going to make that draft even more important than you get them running side by side up there in front of you, punching a pretty big hole in the air where you can do that and pull that gap back.
A little close moment there for the 15 of Blackwell. Looks like he slipped over the nose of the 80 of Dennis Faircloth and got a little bit sideways through the tri-oval. And Faircloth trying to find some way around or give him a big push here through turns 1 and 2. And they are losing time on the top side as your race leaders, Rob Liedl, Jake Maki, Cody Adkins, Alan Dyson, Adrian Loya have been pretty well nose to tail in this one. Now we see Blackwell get shuffled to the middle. the 91 of Zach Smith trying to break into the top 10. And that would be a much needed run for him if he can get a finish up here towards the front. As the 36 of Mayato now going to go to the inside of both the 15 and 91. Things not working out for those guys who were on the top previously, but probably getting a bit more organized for those pit stops.
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct on that. As they come to the line this time, it'll be lap number 20 for the majority of this field on this run. And you had mentioned it, there was a couple drivers that did come down top off with fuel, so they are on lap number 19, plus a couple of caution laps there since they did come down pit road. But yeah, I think everybody here tried to get organized, get down on the bottom to make it a little bit easier for that green flag pit stop that'll be coming up here shortly. Those three drivers, Faircloth, Blackwell, and Zach Smith, are the only three that are not glued to that yellow line right now, still trying to make a little bit of ground up here. Of course, just as I say that, Dennis Faircloth drops down to the bottom and then actually just jumps back up to the top side. So, you know, one thing too that sometimes you'll see with these drivers when these green flag stops do start, there's definitely a group of drivers, especially when the whole field is bunched up like this, that they don't want to be the first ones down pit road. They want to try to jump up to that top side and pit the second time by, because there could be time to be made up in that. You get so many cars that are checking up at one time trying to make that pit entry that you could gain a bunch of time just by staying out an extra lap and pitting with fewer cars. So be curious to see if that maybe is what the strategy is for these three drivers that are currently up on that high line.
Yeah, it's a big bobble there for Faircloth, but he has been working the side draft to perfection. He was in that bottom lane, like you said. He jumps up, he jumps back down, and he's been side drafting, working his way to the front, and almost all by himself until he got a little bit more support from Blackwell and Smith. And he has worked his way almost to the race lead, trying to slot in front of Jake Maki. Not enough room to do it, but he is right here now battling. So the top side was not connected at all. And then Faircloth took it into his own hands to try and make it back up to the front, maybe for the start of the pit cycle, but still up on the top and only going to have a couple more laps to slot in underneath. So going to have to hope this works out for him, or maybe drift back a little ways and find a hole. But been impressive to see him drive up there. I did not expect, after they fell so far behind, that they would be right back up here battling for the lead.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, they were basically shotgun on the field there just a few laps ago. I mean, they were all the way at the back. They had lost every bit of track position, but you mentioned it, Dennis Faircloth getting aggressive with the side draft, has worked his way up to the front here, tried to challenge for one of those top positions. Zach Smith actually drops down to the bottom, so it's now just Faircloth and Blackwell up there on that top groove. See if they have enough momentum with just the two cars. But I mean, for three cars up there on that second groove by themselves to be able to make up the ground that they did, I can't say that I had that on my bingo card here this evening. I didn't really think that was possible, but something to keep an eye out for later on in the race if we can get some other guys linked up and they can get that to work.
Yeah, I'm just surprised. I didn't think it was even possible for a single car to make up that much ground like he did, but obviously the draft, a much more important factor than even we predicted. He was able to drop in, kind of gain some draft from the inside lane, and they'd check up a little. He jumped to the top and just kept doing that 3 or 4 times, and right back up here in the mix. So definitely one to keep your eye on. He's always up here towards the front in these super speedway races, and you know, is aggressive almost everywhere we go. But right now has the lead. He's going to drop in front of Lidl and leave Blackwell on the top side, no help at all, and that is likely not going to work out very well for the Coors machine.
Yeah, Christian Blackwell is going to be all on an island up there by himself as he tries to come down and side draft a little bit. Him almost making contact there with the 5 of Alan Dyson. Oh boy, that was a close move, but he made it work. Slots in between Loya and Zach Smith there in the 91. That was close. I didn't think he was clear at first, but able to make it work. 91 probably cut him just a little bit of a break there and letting him down in front of him. But yeah, that is going to put the field entirely single file now as they work lap number 25 of this run. And I think that's pretty much going to open the door that we can expect to see these guys ducking down and coming down pit road here pretty much any moment. I mean, this, if they pitted here, this would put it as where they're running it about even from that last pit stop. But I would have to think you want to stretch it just a little bit longer if you can, in case there is a green-white checker. Maybe you don't have to come down pit road when some other drivers do. But right now, the entire field is staying out. No pit stop starting just yet, but should be coming here within the next handful of laps.
So it's 20 cars separated by just under 3 seconds back to Brody Hayes. And then Paul Hahn is out of the lead group here. Todd Giles also, I believe, is in the mix with this group potentially. Not exactly sure. No, actually, he is coming to pit road now, but 2 laps down. Jeremiah Hobbs, like we saw up on his roof earlier, out of this race. But otherwise, everyone is running after 57 laps, so that is a good sign that things have gone fairly well. And Bearcloth, we'll see when he elects to bring it down pit road, and if there are any takers this time. A couple of drivers kind of faking. That looks like maybe Eric Hutton. He is going to bring it in, and he is coming in really hot. That may be a little bit too hot.
Yeah, Eric Hutton actually showing a black flag right now already for speeding on the entry there. So you called it, coming in hot. I mean, he was trying to get everything he could, but did not get it woed down in time. So that's going to be a stop and hold for the 88 of Hutton. And, you know, something else I wanted to touch on really quick as well as we take a quick look at the replay here. And man, he drove that thing in there for all it was worth. And you called it right away. But you had mentioned Brody Hayes is basically the last car in this lead draft. He essentially has to have a perfect pit entry and pit exit here. You know, if you're one of these guys in the middle of the pack, you've got a little bit of leeway. If you could be a little bit conservative getting on the pit road. If you lose a spot or two, no big deal. You're still in the main draft. You're still in contention. But for him, he cannot lose any time. If he does, he's going to lose the draft, and he's going to need a caution to get caught back up, and may not even be able to make it to the end without having the aid of the draft to save a little bit of fuel. So something to be mindful of once he does come down and make his pit stop here. It looks like it's predominantly still just the VSPEED drivers out there on track that have yet to make their stop.
Yeah, it looks like we've got 6 drivers yet to pit. It's Mayato, Gemmel, Robinson, Samard, Loveland, and Hayes. So all of the VSPEED team staying out. Probably going to bring it in this time, and that does appear to be the case. We'll see how they do bringing it down. Pretty hot in the pit lane, but it looks like they get wound up. A little contact there, 29 to the 6. That can be sometimes enough to knock you over the speeding limit there, but it does not appear to be the case. Looks like a clean entry by all those drivers as they get into their boxes. This can also be a tough thing to do on a super speedway. Mayato into the box, and looks good for all these drivers. No one having to back up. We'll have to see if anyone's taking 2 tires or 4 tires as these drivers now working out of turn number 4. It is Dallas Sullivan leading the group. We got Angelo Ronis and Bailey Turner, even without the help of Eric Hutton, able to get caught up to this pack as the VSPEED machine's now rolling off. They are into turn number 1. You can see the field full song closing in behind.
Yeah, and one of the most important things there for those VSPEED drivers, Brody Hayes, did in fact keep with the rest of this pack. So no worries about losing the draft there. And you mentioned Dallas Sullivan in this lead pack here as well. He was one of those drivers that actually elected to take 2 tires on that green flag pit stop. So the 46 gaining a lot of track position by doing so. He was actually running near the back of the lead pack. So pretty smart move on his part. Get yourself up here where you can be in contention to make something happen here. And that is going to cycle this green flag pit stop around. And you can see there, most of these drivers able to maintain their position with the lead gap. There's a couple of smaller groups, though. Got Rob Liedel and Cody Atkins in 14th and 15th. They're about 2 seconds, or about a second and a half, rather, back of this pack. And then about another second and a half back of them is Michael Jones, Zach Smith, Ray Massey. So a few drivers losing the main lead draft here, but they do at least still have some drafting help out there to try to catch back up to the rest of this pack.
And Eric Hutton, this is not the mistake that he needed at this point in the season with the speeding penalty. He runs 21st, tail end of the lead lap. You see the leaders there behind him, about to put him a lap down. At least, you know, he'll be able to catch on to the draft and not lose any more time, but not really a lot of positions to be gained unless there's some accidents, and he can get a lap back. He will go a lap down now. 3 wide, Mayato leading the top side with his teammate Ryan Gemmel behind, and then there's Chris Samard and James Loveland. Nose to tail, there's Brody Hayes just a few more car lengths back, and really your top 3 in the points are up in this lead group. There goes Bailey Turner, going to jump to the top side and block them, and he's going to get hung out to dry in the middle as Mayato able to jump to the top side and bring the rest of that lane with him.
Yeah, the VSPEED drivers doing a really nice job working together there. That does shuffle Bailey Turner to the middle. No drafting help. One thing about it, though, Eric Hutton was able to catch on to this lead draft, and even though he is a lap down, could still get up there and try to push his teammate to the lead, try to help him out a little bit, or even potentially just keep himself in position for a free pass should a caution come out. Because right now you can see it, these guys are 2 and 3 wide in this lead pack, and they're coming up on a lap car here. You know, this can get dicey when you're running side by side like this and you're trying to navigate the lap. Traffic is Adrian Loya down below the double yellow. Not going to be able to make that work. He's going to have to drop back and slot in line here and catch on to this lead pack yet again. And nice job rejoining the pack safely there out of that 30 car. That could have been big as well.
Yeah, that's always sketchy. Going down into the corner and you're not on the racing surface and you got to find a way back on, but you got 3 wide next to you, and ultimately it worked out for him as he kind of fell to the tail of this. And there is Alan Dice dropping back. You can see a few cars trying to work their way around Todd Giles Jr. as we got bobbling out of the 30 again. Giles gets to the apron. Nice, respectful move by him. And I was noticing the pack behind with Zach Smith, Cody Adkins, and others, right? They have lost a lot of time, and they're going to have to get things figured out here. Maybe be a little too far back. They're 4.5 seconds off your race leader. About 3 seconds off the group in front, and they've got the lap machine of Todd Giles right in their lane. A little contact.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to help the cause there with contact between 91 of Zach Smith and Todd Giles Jr. And, you know, you were talking about the lap times and losing some time here. Angelo Ronis, our race leader, last lap ran a 51:32. Looking back at that second group, take a look and see. Just wait for the scoring to update here. But Zach Smith ran a 51:55 that last lap. So even still, they are losing time per lap also here, as well as already being at that disadvantage. So at this point, probably going to need a caution to be able to get themselves back up into contention. Just not enough speed out of that second group as they currently run to be able to try to make up that gap.
Yeah, I think the issue was Leo's Adkins and Liedel were kind of just nose to tail. They're just the two of them, and then the group that was further back eventually caught up to them as they weren't able to carry enough speed, just the two drafting together. But Gemmel gets a big bobble on the bottom lane, able to hang on to it. He's going to fall to the tail of this group. If he can find a way back up in line, he's going to lose a lot of time, might even end up losing the draft here. Luckily, Alan Dice is not far in front, maybe just enough for him to hang on, but that was a really close call. Go back, take a look at what happened to the 6 as he had a nose full of a bumper there from the 29 through the tri-oval, just not quite in line.
Yeah, Michael Robinson behind trying to draft it. Oh man, that was almost a right hook. I mean, obviously not intentional there from the 29 at all, But man, Ryan Gemmel with a huge save. I know that may not look big, but 185 miles an hour trying to save it like that through that pack of cars. That is a huge moment out of the 6, and I mean, just a fantastic job of hanging on to it there by Gemmel.
And he's lost the lead group, and it looks like Alan Dice is about to lose the lead group as well. He's within a second, but this might start to become a little bit too far. But the second pack has not really lost too much time. Last time, though, it's still half second slower. They had been maintaining, but just lost a little bit more that time. But they'll have Gemmel in their pack now, so that may help them just a little bit more. But running out of time with under 15 laps to go.
Yeah, that top groove is the dominant groove right now with a few of those VSPEED drivers. You've also got Angelo Ronis leading that line, Bailey Turner running in second in that line. But on that bottom groove, Jake Maki, we've talked about him throughout the evening. Seems like he's eager to get up there and try to make a charge at this race win. Led 14 laps here so far this evening. Really strong showing, had a lot of speed. And something else that I'm curious to see is that Maki and Bailey Turner worked together quite a bit in the early stages of this race. So, you know, not teammates, but if Maki can get up there and maybe get alongside the 77 of Samard or along the 36 of Mayato, would Bailey Turner drop down and say, hey, let me lead this line and try to work with that 13 to see if they can get up there and get to number 1 and 2 together?
Yeah, it seemed like Turner was willing to help Maki, but Maki was not really willing to help Turner in those early stages. Remember, he left him out there a few times. I know Bailey probably gave him a couple of opportunities to prove some loyalty there and didn't really show too much that would maybe make him confident in working together in 13, the 80, the 30, all these guys trying to get their first win. And, you know, I would not expect them to work with a guy who's leading the points, who's won so many races here as of late. They want to find their way to victory lane, and you know, having that 24 in the fold at all, you instantly lower your chances of maybe getting a victory. As they get a nice run on the bottom side, here they come pulling alongside Keith Mayato. This is the battle for third, and the top two starting to see that advantage dwindle.
Yeah, and it might be a pick your poison kind of thing if you're Bailey Turner here. Do you want the V-Speed teammates who are going to, I'm not going to say they're not going to try to push you to the win, but when one of their teammates, Brody Hayes, is the one that's chasing you for the championship, you have to think they're not going to push that 24 out to the lead, or would you want Maki behind you? But Turner content to ride in that second spot in the top groove. Jake Maki, though, with help on the bottom from Dennis Faircloth, Adrian Loya behind him. He's trying to mount a challenge for this lead. Had it for just a moment, but Turner with a big shove to Angelo Ronis down the back straightaway. And Angelo Ronis going to be able to hold that lead for now.
Going to be coming to 10 laps to go here at Talladega. Side by side for second, it's Ronis in control. He's led a good chunk of this race as well. Now 8 laps. He's got his teammate behind. We are setting up for an all-time finish here as Blackwell, the lap machine, not too far up the road. That could be a wrench in some of the plans of these drivers as we get to the closing moments of this one. We'll see where he elects to go if it causes any issues, but so much closing speed from this lead pack up to him. It'll be a matter of timing and when they get there, as it looks like the inside lane not quite able to keep the momentum up, as it's Mayato and Samard clearing through. Will they jump to the bottom? Not going to do it just yet, but probably communicating about when they want to make that last move.
Yeah, it's getting down into that window where you're starting to test some runs, starting to see how do you want to time things out. Christian Blackwell, you mentioned it there, up in that top groove. Does a nice job giving the lead pack plenty of room. Bailey Turner looked like he was thinking about a move to the inside, but just no help down there on the bottom as of right now. Jake Maki and Dennis Faircloth have fallen back a couple of car lengths here. So for right now, content to just ride in behind that 22 of Angelo Ronis. Have to see if that bottom groove can get some momentum built back up. But it really seems like since these leaders have decided to just stick with that middle groove, it just seems like it's carrying way more speed than what we saw earlier.
Yeah, they're working down the racetrack just a little bit as they get into the corners and definitely cutting that distance and still carrying more momentum on the outside lane. But here we go again. 13 gets a nice run out of turn number 4, and he's going to try and get alongside for second through the tri-oval. Not quite there at the exit, but they are knocking on the door as Loya gets up into Hutton, and what is going to happen behind them? They all stack up. It's broken up just a bit with
Wow,
7.
that was a really nice job to not wad everything up there. That started between Loya and Hutton, I believe it was, making some contact, and Dallas Sullivan getting involved in that as well. Probably doing a great job to keep it pointed in the right direction here. So let's go back and take a quick look at this. Yeah, Loya moved up. Not clear. Hutton was there on the outside. Dallas Sullivan having to take an evasive maneuver there to get to the bottom and just not send the 30 down onto the apron. Able to rejoin at the back of this pack, but he's basically lost the lead draft now, has Sullivan in the 46 as a result of that incident. But yeah, that could have wiped out quite a few cars there.
Yeah, it looks like Dallas actually was able to hang on to it for just, well, the second group now at least. We'll see if they're able to get synced up. So it's Dice and company there. Loveland is in the mix. One more machine right between them. That looks to be the 25 of Paul Hahn, who is 1 lap down. So there's a battle for the lucky dog going on, you know, knowing that a caution could eventually break out here. So you've got Hahn and Blackwell and Hutton all back there fighting for the lucky dog. So that's going to be an interesting situation when that eventually arises, if it does arise, as we've got now 6 laps to go. It is still Ronas and Turner leading the way on the top side, and Mayato and Samard right there behind, and Maki, Faircloth, Loya has gotten right back to the inside lane where he ran.
And hanging right at the back of this lead pack, just kind of lurking there, is that 37 of Brody Hayes, one of our 2 main championship contenders. Don't want to discredit the other drivers that are still mathematically in it, but at this point, it's basically he and Bailey Turner, the top 2 in the championship. And he's right there to try to take advantage if something happens. He might be in the catbird seat out of all of this, just kind of riding at the back of this main pack. We know how wild the last lap at Dega can get as we get ready to come to 5 to go this time at the line. But that second pack there, led by Alan Dyson, that purple car, they're not done yet either. They have caught this main pack, and again, utilizing that draft we had seen a few times. Faircloth blows an engine. It looks like that was a blown engine out of the 80. There was a huge puff of smoke out of him going through 1 and 2. And that is going to be basically a night ender for the 80 of Dennis Faircloth. Also showing a meatball flag here. Take a look. Yeah, wow. You can see that puff of smoke there. Adrian Loya into the back of him. Again, another incident that could have taken out quite a few cars. And that is the danger when you're running in this pack like they're doing. Since you stay tucked up just a little too long, get that engine overheated, and it's going to detonate on you.
That's one less driver now in this lead group. And Faircloth, he's coasting now to 50 miles an hour. I'm sure he'll probably tow it if he's not able to make it back. But not even into turn number 3, because he pulls it down into the grass. And I don't think that will trigger a yellow flag here in iRacing. We'll see what eventually happens, but he's probably going to stop it and take it to pit road. Either way, as the top 2 still, Ronas and Turner coming back to 3 laps to go. Mayato gets a nice run into turn number 3, but not going to do anything with it. Maki continues to lead that inside lane. He has been just a mainstay down there in this second half of the race. And the 5 of Alan Dice now at his back bumper. You see Hayes now more in the middle of this pack. He's moved his way up to 7th.
Yeah, Jake Maki has certainly been a mainstay, as you mentioned, up here at the front of this field. But the only problem now is his main drafting partner just blew his engine. As we saw, Dennis Faircloth, one of his teammates. And that basically leaves Maki without any teammates up here in this main pack. His next closest one is going to be Rob Liedl, that's back in 13th in that second pack. So flying solo at this point, no friends close by. As you can see here, 3 wide, Chris Samard pushing Keith Mayato up on that top line. That's going to shuffle Ronis and Turner to the middle, and they're starting to fall back.
Yeah, they're in the sucker hole, as it's often referred to, and that may be difficult to recover from. You know, these two, though, very experienced on these super speedways, working together. Dallas Sullivan gets shoved out high, and now Mayato gets turned. He's trying to save it, and he does.
Oh, they saved it. Oh my gosh, what a save there. I can't believe that they all hung on to that. I mean, Dallas Sullivan losing the front end of his car, and actually it looks like losing a tire in the process, but everybody keeping it straight through there. As you can see, they were working that high groove, trying to make the move happen here as they come to the 2 to go, and just a little bit of a push gone wrong there into Maki. Gets another hit from Michael Robinson, gets another hit from the 37 of Hayes.
Wow.
Dallas Sullivan into him as well, but everybody able to keep it straight, no caution. They are still green with Jake Maki leading the field right now as they head through the tri-oval and get ready to come to the 1 to green, or 1 to go. White flag is in the air, race is official. Jake Maki leads, but Bailey Turner tried to make a run at it with help from Angelo Ronis.
And here is Brody Hayes on the inside lane. Third car down there. Maki's going to try and use both lanes. It's not going to work for him to block the 24 on the top side. Alan Dice now going to push the 13. 29 machine pushing the 22 and 24. Angelo Ronis going to be committed to the back bumper of his teammate. They get a huge shove down the backstretch. The 29 of Michael Robinson. What does he do? Here goes Ronis to the inside.
Oh, Ronis to the inside. Bailey Turner up to block the 29 of Michael Robinson. He's got a push from Robinson. Maki is going to push the 22 of Angelo Ronis. They're side by side off of turn 4. They're 3 wide. Banging doors. They keep it straight. Bailey Turner is in the lead, but here's Brody Hayes looking to the outside. Coming to the line. It's going to be Brody Hayes on a last lap move to take the win here at Talladega, with Chris Samard coming home in second and Bailey Turner finishing in the 3rd spot. And another one of these fantastic BTDY finishes that we have seen time and time again this season. The top 3 separated by less than 1/10 of a second.
Oh my goodness, that was so much going on in such a short amount of time. Trying to see what the move was there and what really caused that. You could see the 22 jump to the bottom side. They were trying to block those 2 lanes, and ultimately didn't work out for the 22. He gets tagged by the 29 and Michael Robinson, who jumps to the middle lane, and then Brody Hayes riding the outside wall pretty much, able to make the move to the outside of Bailey Turner, and he is able to just get the nose out in front there with his teammate Chris Samard giving him the shove. What a finish here at Talladega.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot ask for much more than that. Just taking another look here. And Brody Hayes put it up there where nobody else has been running on that front straightaway this evening, with help from his friends in the form of teammate Chris Samard. They are going to come home 1-2. Bailey Turner drops back to 3rd on the final lap. And, you know, we've been hyping up this championship battle between the 37 and 24. And they both come home on the podium here at Talladega, with Brody Hayes, your race winner. And, you know, I don't know for sure how the points are going to work out yet, but these 2 drivers might be just about in a dead heat as we head to our last 2 races of the season.
Yeah, this is exactly the shot in the arm the 37 needed to get back to fighting for the points lead. 77 of Samard, also great run for him. He's 3rd in points. So your top 3 in points come home top 3 in the race. We'll interview them as well as take a look at the rest of the race results right after a quick commercial break.
At Cynthia Rogers, MD Dermatology, we specialize in providing comprehensive expert care for the full spectrum of skin conditions, from complex skin diseases and skin cancer to aging concerns and aesthetic needs. With decades of combined experience in medical, surgical, and aesthetic dermatology, our team brings both deep clinical knowledge and a patient-first approach to every visit. Our practice focuses on developing personalized treatment plans tailored to each individual's skin, health, and life stage. We're located in Port St. Lucie, Florida, in the PSL Professional Center. Learn more or schedule a visit at floridaskindoctor.com.
We've been around since 1946, originated as a scrapyard and evolved into a full-on steel service center, buying and selling new steel products of light fabrication, such as cutting, shearing, bending, threading. We also run a wholesale pipe, valve, and fitting plumbing division, as well as a retail showroom outlet. And then we also are a full-on structural steel fabricator, which is the skeletal steel that you see in commercial and residential structures. We sell to a wide variety of contractors, plumbers, maintenance type personnel, underground utility companies. We sell anything from single nuts and bolts to like a typical hardware store type of feel, one fitting, to full semi-loads of pipes. We're a little deeper in our inventory, and we actually have maybe a little more specialized type of fittings and such. Stock quite a diverse inventory, so we try to keep everything here to keep you guys going.
Backed by 70 years of experience, Duncan Water Systems specializes in commercial and residential water system testing, design, installation, and maintenance. Our mission at Duncan Water Systems is to provide high-quality water solutions to every customer. We pride ourselves on being responsive, honest, and customer-oriented. Our priority is safer water for you and your family. Contact us via call, text, email, or visit us at DuncanWaterSystems.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the Duncan Water Systems 200 here in the FloridaSkinDoctor.com BTDY Racing Series. Let's go ahead and give you your full race results to see where your favorite driver finished after what was an absolutely thrilling finish here to this race this evening. Brody Hayes, with that big last lap move, he's going to come home as your race winner. Teammate Chris Samard finishing in second, Bailey Turner in third. James Loveland is going to finish in the fourth position this evening with Angelo Ronis in fifth, Michael Robinson in sixth, Alan Dice coming home in the seventh position, Jake Mockey in eighth, Rob Liedel in ninth. Rounding out your top 10, it's going to be Ryan Gemble.
In the 11th position here tonight, it was Ray Massey finishing in 12th with Zach Smith. Cody Adkins comes home in the 13th spot. Keith Mayato, after running up towards the front there in the closing moments, collects some damage. He'll come home in 14th. Dallas Sullivan will finish in the 15th spot with a broken suspension. Last car, I believe, on the lead lap there. Adrian Loya finishes in the 17th spot. Paul Hahn in 18th. Christian Blackwell in the 19th spot. Eric Hutton in 19th. And Michael Jones in the 20th position. Rounding out the field tonight, it was Todd Giles Jr. in the 21st spot. And 22nd. Okay, my scoring's a little bit messed up from what I'm seeing here, but Dennis Faircloth 21st, Todd Giles Jr. 22nd, and Jeremiah Hobbs rounding out your field in 23rd. Those drivers all had very interesting nights. But we'll go to our top three finishers, starting with third place. That is going to be Mr. Bailey Turner. We'll see if we can get him up here with us. Hey, Bailey. Hey, Bailey, this is Adam and Daniel in the VSPEED booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, just walk us through those final few laps. You had the good up-front position there with your teammate, and you guys were kind of controlling the field for a lot of the second half of this race, but it gets really intense, and a lot of moves were made there in the last couple of laps. Just run us through what was going through your mind and what you were trying to do.
Yeah, like you said, we were doing a good job there trying to manage lanes. We were missing Eric Hutton. He had a little speeding penalty. Unfortunately, on pit road, he didn't get to practice pit entry and or when he showed up. So that was unfortunate. And then yeah, me and Angelo were just doing a really good job trying to manage the lanes and manage temps and you know, make a final push there for the end. And then you know, we got Team VSPEED, you know, doing a really good job lining up all 4 of those guys or 5 of them, however many there are, and you know, shucked us out. And it looks like they about wrecked each other. And then you know, trying to avoid the wreck, had to dive down below the apron, came back up, and me and Angelo flip-flop positions and pushed me to the front. And then, you know, I think he even said he felt like he made the mistake there of trying to get to the lane and control it, and that left me just as a little bit of a sitting duck. And, you know, if I would have blocked Brody high, he would have split the gap and went middle or wrecked me. And, you know, he was coming with a pretty good head of steam, so all I tried to do was just shade and slow their momentum down the best I could. And yeah, as the leader there, you're just you're kind of along for the ride. You're just trying to play all the mirror games and try not to get wrecked, and you know, trying to make the smart decision of, you know, watching the points. Like obviously, you know, I think Brody, I'm assuming, will either inherit the points lead or will be pretty close to tied. So just really trying to make the smart decision not to get wrecked on the last lap, and, you know, survive to make a good push for the championship here at the end.
Yeah, you're talking about maybe even just one wrong move, right, could take you out of championship contention realistically. So definitely a smart move there to you know, keep yourself in the middle and try and keep things tight with those guys. But definitely a great run for you here, Daniel. I believe you had a question.
Yeah, so you mentioned the points, and you're basically going to be, if not tied with Brody Hayes, I mean, just about tied with him heading into these last 2 races at Bristol and Homestead. Do you feel like those are strong tracks for you, or how are you feeling about this championship battle as we get down to the last 2 races?
Yeah, you know, Bristol can always be just such a upside down race. You know, I've had some good runs there as of late with the next gen car and things like that in other leagues. And, you know, it's just trying to keep the tires on it there and somehow still make speed and control the pace and things like that. It's, Bristol's just full of games. Tire games are really trying to manage your stuff, especially if you get those long runs. If we can get them, I'm not sure we will, based on how this car is with short tracks and different things like that. And then, yeah, Homestead's, you know, it's on the 1.5 miles, another race that really, you know, you got to manage your tire wear, and it's going to be interesting. Homestead is not one of my favorites. It was real fun when they updated the next gen with the new tire and draft model and being able to kind of rim ride and know you're saving tires still and doing a good job. But unfortunately, I think we're still on the old tire model over here. So I'm not sure you're going to be able to explore the lanes as much as you want to, but yeah, we're gonna give it our best shot here. I think it's gonna come down to, like you said, those last race or 2, and every point is gonna matter. And you know, this race was one of those wild cards where you're either gonna, you know, come out of here losing 20 points, or you're gonna be there right in the battle. So glad we managed the points position there and didn't get wrecked. And yeah, excited to go on to next week and get a little short track racing in.
Yeah, definitely excited to see where the championship battle ends up between you and Brody and others. And anybody you want to give a shout out to for the 3rd place finish here tonight?
Yeah, obviously the teammates over there, Sad Boys, sucks. I was kind of wanting to push Angelo to a win there more than win myself. He deserves it. It's long overdue, and we got Eric a win last week. And yeah, just, you know, if we didn't have to get teamed up on by 5 cars in one team, we might have had a chance there at the end. But yeah, shout out to those guys. Shout out to you guys over there at VSPEED. See nightmares of VSPEED cars every night when I'm on Tuesdays. So, yeah, but shout out to you guys. Appreciate all the work you guys do. And obviously the admin still keeping some decent car counts. And hopefully we can get some good numbers coming out here the next couple of weeks. And obviously all the league sponsors as well.
Awesome, Bailey. Well, thanks for chatting with us and putting on a great show as always. And great to see you up here. Get a nice top 3 finish once again. And we'll catch you next week at Bristol.
Appreciate it.
That is your 3rd place finisher here tonight. Bailey Turner will now go to runner up, and that was Chris Samard, who kind of came out of nowhere with his teammate. Hey Chris, this is Adam and Daniel in the VSPEED booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, Chris,
And really,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Adam.
Well, Chris, you kind of came out of nowhere there in the last couple of laps, pushing your teammate. You had kind of been, mired 5th, 6th, 7th, maybe for a good chunk of the second half of this race, but everything worked out. You got towards the front there with Keith, but then ultimately kind of got shuffled back. Just describe the last few laps of this race and trying to find your way towards the front.
Well, I just wanted to fall behind Keith, and first and foremost, I'd like to apologize to him. I kind of turned him there in the tri-oval, and it was you really don't have any warning. It just, you're driving fine, and then it just turns to the left or turns to the right instantly, and I feel really bad about it. But I was gonna try and fall behind him, and I knew that we were gonna try and go on the outside of Bailey, and we did there and got by him and kind of side drafted him, and it shot him to the back of the pack there, and I thought we had a good chance to finish 1-2 there, but I made a mistake, and I hope he isn't too mad at me. So.
Well, really nice run here, finishing at second this evening. Started second as well, so strong race from start to finish. That last lap, when it worked out that you gave Brody Hayes that final push that he needed to be able to get up there and take the win, was it kind of in your mind going into that last lap to just kind of stay glued to his back bumper and try to push him up there, or was it just kind of circumstantial that it worked out that way and you're really trying to figure out how to get up there and win the race yourself?
I was trying to follow him for the most part. There, halfway down the back there, I thought it would try like a 3 wide in the middle or off a 4, and it just it wasn't going to work out. So I kind of stayed behind him. I saw Brody shoot up to the outside, and I just went with him. And I'm glad that Brody and I finished ahead of Bailey anyways, because we're fighting in the points there. So Brody has a better shot than I do, so I'm glad that he won the race. But yeah, it was a crazy finish, and I'm just happy to be up there, really. A lot of times in these races I wreck myself, so I'm glad I finished this one. So
Yeah, definitely so easy to get caught up in the accidents here at the super speedways, and we've got 2 more races left this season. You mentioned coming in close in points. You will gain a couple on the lead, I believe, with Bailey finishing behind you, but definitely going to be a tough and tall task going into Bristol and Homestead for the final 2 races. How do you feel about going out there for those?
I feel really good about those tracks. Realistically, Brody and Bailey are probably going to have to wreck, and I'm going to have to finish one of these races really well for me to have a shot at the championship. But all I can ask for is to have a shot at it, because it's been a long time since I've had a shot at a championship. So I'll try and do whatever it takes. But I like the 2 tracks. I like Bristol a lot. Bristol is probably the most fun I have on a track, and Homestead is a lot of fun as well. So I'm looking forward to those 2 tracks. They're good tracks for me, so anything can happen.
Yeah, you definitely mounted a charge here towards the top of the championship standing, so definitely excited to see where things shake out for you. Either way, it's been an excellent season for you, Chris, and anybody you want to give a shout out to for second place tonight?
Just all my teammates. They help me out a lot. I helping them. They're just awesome. You guys up in the booth, like going back watching the racing. All the sponsors that I can't remember off the top of my head, and I apologize for that. And my wife and son, and that's about it.
Awesome, Chris. Well, thanks for taking some time to chat with us, and congrats on second place. We'll catch up with you next week at the Coliseum, Bristol Motor Speedway.
Thanks, fellas. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. That is your second place finisher, Chris Samard. We'll now go to Victory Lane, where Daniel, I believe you're standing with our race winner.
And Brody Hayes, this is Daniel and Adam up in the VSPEED booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Well, man, what a final lap. You were running like 6, basically 3 wide for 6th through 8th there going into that final lap. Come out of it with the race win. Just talk us through that last lap and how you were able to get up there and get the win tonight.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, to start the race, we knew we had the competition caution coming. I just kind of wanted to run hard and see what you could do in the draft with that thing, and I think Bailey kind of had the same idea, so we were kind of going back and forth. After that, it was kind of just lay low in the back, kind of stay out of the carnage, make sure that you had a clean car at the end. We had a couple close calls there with like, I don't know, 10, 15 to go. And the last lap was just kind of keep your momentum up and, you know, trying to just keep the forward momentum. And the seas kind of parted. They ended up 3 wide through the tri-oval, and I had a run, and Chris was behind me and James, and I just took what I had to the outside to kind of protect my right rear from getting side drafted. And Bailey missed it just enough to allow us to keep the momentum up and sail by them. So I'm not going to say that's how we drew it up, but I'm also going to say that's how we drew it up, and it worked out beautifully.
Well, you get yourself right back into the championship hunt. You were 6 points behind after a kind of disappointing result there at Michigan. We go to Bristol and Homestead to close out this season. You think you got a good shot to capture this championship in the fight with Bailey here?
Yeah, 100%. We're not out of it yet. I'm not going to go down without a fight. I've had a really bad past 2 weeks. Iowa, that was a self-inflicted error, and I've been beating myself up over that one. And Michigan was just part of it, racing hard, pack racing, and just a wreck happens. It is what it is. But Bristol's not a track I've got a lot of laps at, and anything on iRacing, it's not the most appealing when it comes to racing on here. So we'll have to practice there a little bit, but as long as we come out of there with a good finish, I think Homestead's going to be where it's going to be decided, and I think either one of us could win these last 2 races and end up with the championship. So it's going to be an all-out war here to the end.
Yeah, I think it is going to be a dogfight for sure.
Yeah, one thing about it, you two have kind of been the class of the field here, especially since this championship chase has started, yourself and Bailey Turner. So it feels like we're watching a real heavyweight fight between the two of you. And you all are definitely giving us plenty to talk about up here in the booth and giving us a great show to watch. So congrats on the win tonight, Brody. Before we let you go, who you want to thank for it?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to you guys up in the booth. There's a lot going on in this one, so this will be a good one to go back and kind of see what all was happening and how it was playing out. Our sponsors, everybody that came on board this year, the admins, everybody that puts this league on. Car count, wasn't great tonight, but it also wasn't bad. I think we had a good field for Talladega this late in the year, and hopefully we can keep that up the next 2 weeks to really make this continue to be interesting. I'll give a shout out to, thank you to my girlfriend's family for tuning in and watching. I know they get a lot of enjoyment out of this, so it's cool to hear them talk about it and how much they enjoy watching it. So thanks to them. But yeah, on to Bristol.
All right. Well, congrats again on the win, Brody, and we will see you next week at Bristol.
Thank you.
That's our race winner, Brody Hayes, coming home here with the win this evening at Talladega. And Adam, what a just absolutely amazing race that we were able to see here this evening. I mean, pretty much exactly what we've come to expect from this series, and it just did not disappoint here this evening.
Yeah, always so much fun to come out here and cover BTDY and this race at Talladega. One of the most exciting all throughout that I've seen. It really was, you could tell the anticipation was building there at the end of this race. And wow, we got the top 3 in the points somehow making their way through all the chaos and calamity in the closing moments to come home on the podium. So definitely Gonna be an amazing championship fight here over the next 2 weeks. I'm excited to watch and potentially be a part of some of those races with those guys. And yeah, just so much fun calling a race with you here, Daniel. And on to Bristol, which is going to be an amazing race to watch, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it. Next week, we are off to Bristol Motor Speedway, one of my personal favorite tracks on iRacing. I absolutely love that place. I know there's some people that it gets some flack because it has a tendency to get a little bit messy at times, but it's such a fun racetrack. You get one decent green flag run. You can click off a ton of laps in a short amount of time there. And this is shaping up to be an absolute battle between our top two in the points as we head to Bristol Motor Speedway next week for the penultimate race of this season. But that's going to do it for our coverage here this evening after a wild one at Talladega. So on behalf of all the admins here at BTDY, appreciate you again, Adam Baker, for jumping up here, co-commentating, running production this evening as well. And on behalf of Bradley Cooper at VSPEED, our camera angles courtesy of Dougie Beard. This has been the FloridaSkinDoctor.com BTDY Racing Series. Thank you for spending your Tuesday evening with us. We'll see you next week at the Last Great Coliseum.